Mm. What's up, everybody? I think I'm gonna have to go back to the store and get another cup of Polar Pop. Uh, because I ran out. How's it going? Good morning. This is Thursday, April 25th, 2019. I just woke up like a few hours ago, and earlier, like around 2 a.m., I posted my live review of today's Twilight Zone new episode. So you can watch that video right here on Rama Screen YouTube channel. And right now, I'm giving you my live review of today's Cloak and Dagger new episode, which will air later tonight, I believe at 8 p.m. Eastern and Pacific time on Freeform. Now, I've told you before many times that I love this show. I interviewed the actors Olivia Holt and Aubrey Joseph and Emma Lahana. I interviewed them at WonderCon. You can watch my video interviews with them right here, also on this channel. So, just a heads up: this video contains spoilers. Um, I'll be spilling some spoilers. This review is mainly for those of you, my fellow Cloak and Dagger fans, who are caught up with the show and the season. Okay, so heads up, spoiler alert. All right, so last week, what happened last week? Last week, if you guys recall, my fellow Marvel Cloak and Dagger fans, Mayhem, Bridget's doppelganger, and sorry, and Tandy. I don't know if underneath is the word I'm looking for here, or within Tyrone's cloak superpower. Now that's one of his abilities. He can suck people into this dimension, and it looks like a freaking abandoned mall. And at the end of that episode, lo and behold, turns out Connor has been stuck in that mall as well. And it's been months, right, since season one. It's almost been a year now. So I guess if you want to use that as a timeline for the story, he's been there for that amount of time as well. And he's grown. He looked like a hope now. He's grown beard and whatnot. Um, and by the end of last week's episode, uh, Tyrone brings Tandy back, and along with them, or along with her, is Connors. But Connors, flees the scene before Tyrone even gets a hold of him. Now, Connors, for those of you, just a refresher, is the dirty cop who shot and killed Tyrone's brother Billy when Tyrone was a kid. So there's that. All right, that's the premise or the end of last week's episode. So this episode tonight uh, is the aftermath of that. So we get to see. So it's not a filler episode where they take you to another, I don't know, some characters, other characters, subplot or storyline before next week they come back to Connors. No, 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 no. It picks up today's episode picks up right where last week left off. And uh oh, Beef 123. Oh, it's a little glitchy. Yeah, I apologize about that, my friend. I think it's because I have had um problem with my internet. Uh my connection has been on and off lately. Um oh, thank you. Good to know it's better now. My internet connection, and I have Spectrum. They're not reliable. I don't know if you have Spectrum. So I apologize if it's a little glitchy. Um I'm gonna call them before this weekend or on this weekend and see what we can arrange or come up with, because it's been annoying. I get it, man. It's annoying to watch a glitchy live stream video. So I apologize about that. But I'm glad that you said it's better now. So hopefully it stays this good for the remainder of this video. Um, and no worries, man. No worries. You can interrupt me anytime. Okay. So back to my thought. Okay, so today's episode, let me give you the context or the synopsis, and then I'll give you my thoughts and my review. And I won't reveal to you the major you know plot twist in this episode. And it's not necessarily a twist, actually. Just I won't reveal to you that part because I want you to enjoy it for yourself when you watch the episode tonight. But okay, so the context of what happens in this episode. So it picks up right where last week episode left off. So Connors, we see Connors today, um, with his beard on, and he finds the gun that he used to kill Tyrone's brother years ago. And Tyrone finds out, oh my God, Tandy, you bring Connors back. Like, why didn't you say anything? Um, in this episode, you'll notice that Tyrone, whenever whenever it's the case of Connors, Tyrone gets defensive. Tyrone gets easily irritated and angry, even at Tandy. Sometimes it's misdirected anger. I was like, dude, Tandy doesn't know that. Tandy had no idea that Connors would be there in that Dark Force dimension, in that freaking abandoned mall. But in this episode, Tyrone was like, hey, why did you tell me? Like, or like, hey, why'd you bring him here? I was like, dude, ease up on Tandy, okay? This is not Tandy's fault. But it's understandable why Tyrone gets easily angry, because this is the guy who killed his brother. But not just on that occasion, but there's another occasion also in this episode where he also takes it out on Tandy. It may be a bit Tandy's fault on that one, but still, you're gonna be like, "Whoa, Tyrone, come on, hit the brakes, man." This is Tandy. This is not, why are you making Tandy your enemy? Um, so that's one thing I have on my notes, and that's one thing that you'll see or you'll notice from Tyrone in this one, in this episode tonight. When it comes to Bridget, now this episode tonight doesn't show Mayhem. All right, we don't know where Mayhem is in today's episode, but it shows a lot of Bridget. Now, Bridget in this episode is still dealing with the fact that what's the word I'm looking for? She doesn't know how to shoot straight, and I'm not talking about metaphorically. Um, there's a couple of scenes in this episode where she goes to the gun range or firing range, and she completely misses the target. Like, if you're a cop, you're supposed to not make that much a miss, but she keeps doing it, and so she feels like, oh my God, I'm losing my groove. I can't aim right anymore. I'm losing my mojo as a cop. And so when Tyrone comes up to her to ask her for help, with regards to Connors, it's like, I need your help to bring down Connors. Connors is back. And Bridget's like, in this episode, is like, no, I don't know, man. I'm not myself as of late, or I haven't been myself in a while. So I'm not gonna do you or anybody any good. So, and Tyrone gets defensive about that too. It's like, oh, you don't want to help me? Fine. Remember this moment then. If you like, blah, 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 blah. I was like, dude. So he takes it out on Bridget too. I kid you not, man. This episode, Tyrone really gets on my nerve. So Bridget is having a crisis, existential crisis. So that's where she is at the beginning of this episode. And now Tandy, uh, after Tyrone brings her back from this Dark Force dimension, Tandy parts ways from Tyrone a little bit. She goes to her mom, and she goes to that one lady. If you remember, this lady is the shrink, the psychiatrist in that support group for domestic abuse women. Uh, she looks like of Indian descent to me, but don't take my word for it. But that's the lady. That's the lady. The shrink, the one that the counselor. She's the counselor of that group support group. So she comes to her, and they have this heart to heart. And turns out the reason why Tandy goes to her is to find out more information regarding her abuser, her as in the counsel's abuser. Um, and Tandy suspects that that guy is responsible, or at least has connection to the people responsible for kidnapping and sex trafficking the girls in New Orleans. So that's Tandy's angle. That's Tandy's play. Um, that's what you see in this episode. Tandy is doing. Now, the reason why at one point in the middle of the episode Tyrone lashes out on Tandy is because Tandy uses Tyrone. Okay, Tandy like I mean, she comes up with this, or she concocts this lie, this pretend story to the counselor, saying, "Yeah, my ex boyfriend abused me too." Trying to connect. So then the counselor would open up and about her abuser, and like would give Tandy information. That's how Tandy plays it. Because remember, in season one, Tandy has that experience as a con artist. She knows how to play people, and so this is what we see her doing in this episode. And the reason why Tyrone lashes out on Tandy is because Tandy says to the counselors, like, "Oh yeah, this guy's my boyfriend. He made me feel good, but at the same time he made me feel like crap." And so she made Tyrone be out to be that guy, that ex-boyfriend. And so Tyrone finds out, I was like, "Oh, you're using me. Why are you using me like this? Like what? Because I'm black?" And I kid you not, he said that. I was like, "No, it's not that. I need you to be in on this with me because you're my best friend." So that's what I said earlier. That's what I meant by it's partly Tandy's fault, because Tandy kind of indeed uses Tyrone, and she did not let Tyrone in on that play or on that plan. So Tyrone gets caught off guard. It's like, whoa, why are you using me in this ploy? Um, but at the same time, can I blame Tandy fully? Not really, because again, this is what Tandy is good at. She is good at being a con artist, and so she's just using what she has been skilled, or she's always skilled to do. And she believes in her heart of hearts that this is her way into solving this case. Um, and so it's like, you work with what you got. If you have that one talent, if you have that one skill, capitalize on it. I always tell people this. And in the case of Tandy, that's what she's doing. So I can't really fully blame her on that. Um, so uh, that's basically the context of today's episode without revealing the plot twist at the end. Um, Here's what's interesting. In today's episode, my fellow Cloak and Dagger fans, you would know that oftentimes the episodes would have several music videos, right? Not music videos, several songs that make the scenes look like music videos. There's those two here. When Bridget is contemplating about herself, you have a song selection that's moody and like a slow pop, and then when Tyrone gets all riled up about Connor, it's a more energetic hip hop. Um, but here's the twist that I think it's not spoilery, in that Connors in this episode decides to turn himself in. That is important, because what you notice from the beginning of today's episode is that Tandy starts out the episode with a story. Now, Tandy tells this story about a farmer and a viper. Um, hey, Beef says won't be watching tonight. Going to watch Endgames. That's fine. Go watch my review of Endgame. It's on here, Rama Screen Channel. By the way, the Beef 123. I will be posting my spoiler-filled review of Endgame on Saturday night. So once after everybody's seen the movie, and then we can discuss it. Now that you've seen Avengers Endgame, everybody, let's discuss the spoilers. So Saturday night is when the video will be up. Um, so yeah, thank you for watching. Yeah, so stay tuned also Saturday night for the spoiler discussion. Um, in this episode, Connors decides, like, hey, I'm gonna turn myself in. Hey, Tyrone, I'm gonna help you put me behind bars. And so Tandy's illustration is about a farmer and a viper. This long story throughout this episode about how a farmer encounters a viper, and a viper doesn't bite him, but eventually the viper does bite him. So throughout this episode, you will be wondering as an audience, you'll be wondering like, okay, so which one is the farmer and which one is the viper in this scenario, in this episode? Is it is Tyrone the farmer or is he the viper? Is Connors the farmer? Is he the viper? And you'll be wondering like, okay, so is Connor's intention of turning himself in, is that genuine, or does he have a secret agenda? And so those are some of the questions that crossed my mind when I was watching this episode. I was like, wow, it's pretty deep. It's pretty profound. That's what I one of the things I love about this show is that it, it's it's unlike any other show's existential journey, existential introspection, soul journey. You know, Doom Patrol has its own style. In in Cloak and Dagger, it's like, what does this say in juxtaposition of that? So like you have this story, and then how does that story address, or how does that story inform these characters, or how does that story apply to these characters and their story arc? The story right now is Farmer and the Viper, and that's some of the things. That's one of the things that will get the wheels in your brain moving while you watch tonight's episode. Um, Another thing also that I have in mind is I love the artistic approach in today's episode. When Tandy is telling the story about the farmer and the viper, um, there are these flashes of lights, like neon lights, color red and blue, and sometimes just partly blue, and sometimes the blue takes kind of the whole screen, sometimes the red takes the whole screen. It's like, whoa, you're wondering where is this leading, like you're wondering if this is a dream, if this is some, I don't know, alternate reality, because it makes sense when the twist happens at the end. It's like, okay, okay, so that's what those lights represent. But up until that point, leading to that point, you're just like, oh man, you're taking on this bewilderment journey. You're taking on this bewilderment journey, like wondering, because it looks so visually artistic, you know, visually appealing. Of course, uh, that's how it is in many of the episodes of Cloak and Dagger, so that's nothing new. But that is one of the things why I love this show. Now, there is an action moment in this episode, um, and it's two scenes kind of going align with each other. One scene has Tyrone and Bridget um, pulling off a simple heist, nothing too elaborate, but they're trying to get this one piece of evidence that Connor says will help with the case of putting him in the bars, behind bars. And the other scene involves not a heist, but it's Tandy confronting the guys that she believes are working for this, whoever this is, that's kidnapping or bossing to kidnap uh, girls in New Orleans. And so you see Tandy fighting off these guys, and the way that scene is done is very, what's the word I'm looking for? Cool, maybe, but at the same time, it's also simple. It's not a fight choreography that's too complicated, or but I it does make you feel concerned for her safety, because not only does she go at that, or she go in by herself, but on top of that, it's like at one point in the fight, she she doesn't get the upper hand. The bad guys did. And I was like, wow, the bad guys do. I'm sorry. So I was like, wow, oh, she's just a young 22-year-old girl, and then she's about to get her ass handed to her. I was like, oh, that's not cool. So you feel worried about what these guys might do to her. But of course, she has that light power, that knife, and that always pulls through. Especially the fact that the blade or the knife can cut anything, anything, even steel. So that part, that scene is pretty cool to watch. The heist, I would say mild, um, mild to almost uneventful, because all you do is just creating a distraction, and then of course with his cloak power, he teleports himself in, and so it's not too it's not too complicated or too challenging for the on the part of Bridget and Tyrone to pull that off. But it is something that is it's a way for the writers to let you in, like to let you know that okay, it's not gonna be just all drama. We're gonna give you some red meat here. For those of you who are like, oh, I want to see Tyrone and Tandy use their powers. Fine, fine. The writer's like, fine, fine. Here you go. Here's a couple of scenes. I'm gonna throw red meat to you guys. Here, ready? Are you happy now? Are you satisfied? Good. Let's go back to the drama. Let's go back to the drama again. So, but for what it is, that moment of those two scenes, it's fine. It's totally fine. Um, so as I conclude my review, I just want to say that the the episode, including the twist ending in this episode, does raise some more questions as to specifically the conspiracy behind the sex trafficking or kidnapping ring. You're wondering, like, okay, so if Mayhem is an uncontrollable vigilante, or not necessarily a full-on bad guy, but she also wants to kick the bad guy's ass by killing them, so it's still a bad method. So you're wondering, like, so who actually is the big bad guy in this episode? If, like, who is behind all this? If Mayhem actually has the same goal as Tyrone and Tandy, but just and Bridget, but just a more terrible method, but who is the lead villain? So that's the question that the twist ending in this episode kind of raises. And the other conspiracy also involves Connors, because you're wondering, is Connors genuine in his willingness to turn himself in? If not, then who is he playing this ploy for? Like, I know that there are supposed to be powerful people, influential people in New Orleans in this show. There are supposed to be people pulling the strings, but we don't know what they or he or she or that person is. So that's what the end of today's episode kind of raises. It raises that $1 million question. Today's episode, it's not as slow as previous ones, so I think you're gonna enjoy it a little more. The pacing is on point. Again, the performances of the actors are great. I love Emma as Bridget. And there's one scene where Emma as Bridget is fixing up her weapon, and then she has this big ass weapon that she puts on the bed, and she disassembles and assembles it. I was like, wow, that looks so cool. I wish I know how to do that to a to a big ass gun. Um, and she makes it look so convincing, like she knows what she's doing in that part. She may not be Bridget may not be able to shoot or on target right now, but she still knows how to handle her guns. So overall, and also I want to see, and the fact that I forgot to mention that the fact that this episode also shows a bit of Tyrone's dad, and that goes to what I mentioned to you last week's review, in that this season, uh, whoever the supporting characters were in season one, they get pushed a little further back, even more. So they only show up like once in a while. So you see Father Delgado in one episode, you see Tyrone's mom more involved in one episode, and in today's episode, you see Tyrone's dad, and so they're not. So those supporting characters will not show up in every episode, or it seems like it, at least at this point. Um, they're just gonna like, the writers are putting just one at a time. And today you'll see Tyrone's dad and Tyrone connecting, so you have that to anticipate. So overall, it's a fantastic latest episode of Cloak and Dagger. Oh my god, I love this show. Please, you guys, go watch it. I know you guys are gonna be like checking out Avengers Endgame this evening, but after you come home, or maybe DVR it, or whatever, uh, or maybe before you watch Endgame, if the showtime for the Endgame ticket that you bought is for a later time. But please go check out Cloak and Dagger. I want everybody and their grandma to give this show some love. Um, Partly because I want it to get renewed for season 3, because that'd be awesome. And lastly, go check out, watch my video interviews with Cloak and Dagger stars Olivia Holt and Aubrey Joseph and Emma Lahana right here on Rama Screen YouTube channel. So thanks for tuning in on this live review of Cloak and Dagger Season 2, Episode 5, titled Alignment Chart. Share your thoughts in the comment section below. Press that like button, ring that bell, and if you can help support me, please do so at patreon.com/ramascreen. That's patreon.com/ramascreen. Let's wrap this.